for you, but that just allows you to know we're here. Yeah, you are here. So, all right. Without further ado, so as they say, I am very excited. Debbie Sipowicz is the founder of Creatively Empowered LLC, a business dedicated to helping women find their voices and make a difference in the world. She is a 3-time entrepreneur with over 20 years experience, including co-founding one business that grew to over 65 employees. Debbie loves working with empowerment in ways that are creative, fun, and deeply authentic. She leads speaking classes, facilitates women's mastermind leadership circles, and offers private coaching. So, with a raucous applause, please help me welcome Debbie Sipowicz. No. Release.
Okay, and actually just for all the men in the room, I do work a lot with women, and a lot of this presentation I give to women's groups, but it totally applies to men. I just want you to know that ahead of time. So I saw that there were a lot of speakers in the room, but I like to start just by getting a sense of where everybody is. So I have this little scenario to read to you, and I just want you to close your eyes and imagine this for real, and come up with a real honest answer. So imagine waking up tomorrow and opening your email, and there's an invitation waiting for you. You open the email and read that a friend of yours who is scheduled to give a talk next weekend has unfortunately had a family emergency, won't be able to attend. Which is too bad, because you were really looking forward to this event. And the organizer is now scrambling to find a replacement. You're comfortable enough with the topic. This invitation is for you to be that replacement. And you're comfortable enough with the topic, but it's by far the biggest audience you've ever spoken in front of. The event is this Sunday, so 4 days from now. And you need to let the organizer know right now. So how do you reply?
Yes.
Okay, how many are yeses? Right, that's virtually the whole room. Are there any no's in the room? It's for, thank you, Frank. Yes, for sure. Okay, so just tell me, somebody who's a yes, why is it a yes?
Well, if you're comfortable with your topic, why does it matter how many people are in the audience?
Yep. Well, for sure, if you're comfortable with your topic and you have an opportunity to speak, that's my sentiment exactly. Like, why the hell wouldn't you speak? But it wasn't always that way for me, anyway. Right. Because there's a building. Who's a no? Tell me, Frank, why it's a no for you.
Because I did public speaking with Hewlett Packard for 25 years, and I'm tired of it. And I prefer to promote other people, so I would coach someone else to do the presentation.
Okay, that's a valid reason too. So it doesn't have anything to do with nerves for you,
No.
because you're an experienced. Who's a nervous speaker?
I would just say I don't have a lot of experience talking in public, so why I think it's a cool opportunity, I'm not sure I would jump in 4 days. Maybe if you gave me a week, 2 weeks, and I had a lot of time to prep.
Because you know you could do it, right?
I could do it.
You just might not be able to do it in 4 days.
Right.
Right. And I lead a lot of women's workshops, and what I always ask people why they're there, and what I hear a lot is that there's it feels like we have this kind of love-hate thing going on with speaking. That I have people in my groups who really feel like they should do it. They should do it because it helps them build their business, build their brand, get new clients, that kind of thing. Or there are people in the group that come because they want to do it, but it feels like it's outside your comfort zone a little bit, so you feel like it's on your list of I want to do it someday. And then I've also had people come who have no desire to speak ever, but for some reason they have to. Like one person had a wedding she had to give a talk for, or somebody found out their job required them to start speaking. And when I hear those kind of reasons, I guess I always feel like there's a disconnect between what people think speaking is and what it actually is. Or they're missing the value, I guess, in some ways. Because to me, the value of speaking is not just to get new clients or to build your expertise or to build your brand. And for sure, it is all of those things. But there's also the true value of speaking is the idea that the more you do it, the more comfortable you get in your own skin. And there is huge upside to being comfortable in your own skin, not just on stage, but in life in general. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what I think of as authentic speaking. So you're speaking from your heart, you're speaking for what's true for you, and you're speaking in the same way you would in front of a group, or you're the same person rather, in front of a group of 50 people, or if you're in front of your best friends in your living room. So here's my question for you. When you're asked to give a presentation, do you picture yourself something like this? Or more like this? And I will say that most of the people that I work with picture themselves more like this. And what's challenging when you're in this state in front of a group of people is that it's hard to think, it's hard to feel good, it's hard to remember what you're talking about, and mostly, for me anyway, it's really hard to enjoy yourself. It's really hard to be in the moment and just be in conversation. So if that's the case, then you just have to ask yourself why speak. And we covered a little bit about that right before, but I'm just going to tell you why I started speaking so that you have a background of me. But like Drew said, I started a company when I was just 26 years old, and there were 3 of us that started this company together. It was a software company, and I wanted to count. Most of the company that grew from the 3 of us to 65 people, it was an engineering company again, so it was like 85% male. And I was the youngest person on the team, and I was the only female on the team, and it felt important to me that I speak. So to me, it was just kind of business as usual. But ultimately, when I go back and think about that time, it was really, I spoke to prove my worth, to prove that I could hang with the big guys. And I did. But it was also really, really draining to me because it wasn't, I always felt like I had to be on in that scenario. So when I ended that job and left speaking for a long time, it wasn't, then I started speaking again. It didn't have anything to do with that. Why I continued speaking was because I knew I was making a difference. And I'm going to tell you this story about when I spent 8 years homeschooling my kids, and in this 8 years, I also went back and got a health coaching certificate as I was phasing out. And I was modestly successful at health coaching. I had a few clients, but it wasn't really juicing me. And then one day, a friend of mine called me and said she knew of this group. It was called the Op-Ed Project, and these were these 3 women who were on a mission to get more op-ed pieces in places like the New York Times, the Huffington Post, the Wall Street Journal. They wanted to hear more women's voices. And even though I didn't read the New York Times, I don't read the Wall Street Journal, I am definitely a woman with a lot of opinions. And I thought, this is a great opportunity for me. So I went to this workshop, and there were probably about 20 women in the room, and it was a big U-shaped table like this. So I came, and I was one of the last people in. So there were people all the way around, right? I'm like 2 seats from the end and right by the door. And the person starting the workshop started like this. She came up to the front of the stage and said, okay, we're going to go through the room here, starting on this side, and we're going to come up one by one, and you're each going to answer this question. You're going to stand here and say, hello, my name is, fill in the blank. I'm an expert at fill in the blank because fill in the blank. And then at the end of your sentence, the whole room is going to vote whether we believe you're the expert or not. Right? I thought I was going to a writing workshop. But what's worse was the first person that got up said something like this: "Hello, my name is yada yada. I'm an expert at China relations because I'm the head of China relations at the White House for the last so many years." Right, and then somebody else gets up and says, "Hello, my name is yada yada. I'm an expert at the Bosnia War because I've been a frontline journalist for the last so many years." And I'm a health coach. And I also, the whole time people are speaking, I'm one, looking at the door, two, I'm going through my resume. I mean, I'm an Ivy League graduate. I've got a big career. I mean, I had one. I had a lot of things on my resume that had absolutely nothing to do with my health coaching at the time. And if I could have left, I really, truly would have. But I couldn't. And by the time it got to me, I just felt like I had no choice. I sort of had to just surrender. So I stand up in the front of the room. "Hello, my name is Debbie Sipowicz. I'm an expert at the way food affects your body because 10 years ago I was diagnosed with cancer and I used food as a way to heal my body." And the thing is, every single hand went up, right? And that was such a big moment for me. The hand went up saying, "We believe you're the expert." And what I want to say about that was I just learned so much that in that moment. One, that excuse me, I had way more power than I gave myself credit for. And two, people really wanted to hear what I had to say. They didn't care about my resume. They didn't care about my credentials. They wanted to hear the story. Because during the course of this workshop, I would say easily half, or if not 3/4 of the people came up one by one and asked about my story. And I just, because everybody's got a cancer story in their family somewhere. But thirdly, I just felt like it almost felt like an obligation to speak to me, because it felt like if by just sharing my story, I could help one person see the world differently, or one person have a different experience around it, then that was just so soul satisfying to me. And that's all I needed. And that's when I made this switch to just to just not letting go of the worries around it and just being myself in front of a group. And that's what I want to talk about today. So what I think of when I think of mastering the art of authentic speaking, I think of these 3 points as more important than probably any other. One is just this understanding that you are already perfect exactly as you are. Two, that it's really not about you, the speaker, at all. It's about the audience. And three, that your story and your experience is really all you need. So I'm going to talk about this first one, that what I call your perfect as is. So when we go back to this speaker, like, what is so scary about standing up here and speaking? Who has something that comes to mind for somebody that's scared? Yeah.
You're laughed at.
That you're going to be laughed at 100% for sure. That's legit, right? Who else has something? Yeah.
Just completely forget what you're supposed to say.
That you'll forget what you're going to. That's a big one that comes up over and over again, right? That you'll get tongue-tied and you'll have all these eyes staring at you.
People will walk out.
people will walk out, right? It's like a big concern, right? If somebody is so bored that they'll fall asleep or start walking out. Yeah.
That you may get questions that you may not want to answer.
That you may get questions that you not know how to answer. That comes up for sure too. Yeah.
That you're seen as inauthentic or fraudulent.
That you're seen as somebody trying to pretend to be something you're not.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
Sometimes forgetting what you're saying, not making sense too, maybe you leave something out. I always think, oh, I think I left the most important thing out. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, what's interesting about all these comments, leaving something out, forgetting what you're going to say, having people fall asleep, is that they really don't have anything to do with speaking. They have everything to do with this feeling of being judged, right? And who doesn't have something like this in their past somewhere? You know, whether they're 2 or 20 or 25, somewhere we've got an image of, or a physical sensation of what it feels like to be in that position, right? And if all these judgments come from just standing up here on stage, who in the hell would volunteer to do it, right? And so we don't, right? We have, here are the coping strategies. One, we avoid it, and I would say probably 99, well, I don't know what the statistic is, I'm just making that up. Like 90% of the people on the planet won't ever give a talk. I don't know. Or we can try to ignore it, and by that I mean we try to do things like to pretend that we don't have any flaws, right? So we pretend to be perfect. Who wants to see somebody up here who's perfect? I just don't believe anybody does. So it's odd that we all think that's what we need to be in order to come up here in the first place. So there are a lot of strategies to pretend. But who's ever heard this expression that to get over a fear, the best way is to avoid it? Right? It's not possible. Like, to get over a fear, like the one and only thing you can do is you have to stand in it. You have to feel this fear and do it anyway. So what I would love to do, I have an example of what this feels like. I would love to ask for a volunteer from somebody who's nervous to do it. And I've got my eye on you. It's a really easy exercise, but it's just a good demonstration of what I mean by this.
Okay.
So come up. And if anyone wants to share, this is how you do the live stream. Okay, so what was your name again?
Marie.
Marie.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for volunteering.
Thank
because
you.
I know this is what I know when you're standing up here, is that we're talkers, right? We've been talking for 50 years, some of us, right?
Right.
But it's a big difference to stand here or to sit there, right? That's basically 2 feet away. That's a really big difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things I do is I just help people get comfortable just standing there. Because so here's what we're gonna do. I've got this timer for 45 seconds. All you have to do is stand here and look at these people. Can you do that?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna time it here. You don't even need to talk, you just need to stand.
I like it.
Okay.
Do we need to glower at her?
No, you're not, she's just, yeah.
We're sending good energy.
It's 5 seconds.
No. I did take a class where they say you look around.
Did you,
That part.
was there any part of you that wanted to start talking?
Maybe a little bit. But-
See, okay, I just want to say that's proof positive that I can make a speaker out of anyone. Okay, but no, seriously, the exercise is, because it's just like sitting in front of a table. The exercise is that the more comfortable you can get just with people staring at you, and you all want her to do well, right? Is there anyone hoping she, I don't know, starts crying up here? No. And the other thing about it is that we just see you as to me, I think your essence comes through whether you're saying one word or not. And what I also like to do is just throw out some words, and then you receive it. Like to me, I just see strength. And so your job is to say, strong, thank you, back to me.
Strong, thank you.
Who else sees something in her? Just from being up here.
Courage.
Courage.
Courage, thank you.
Vibrancy.
Vibrancy, thank you.
A twinkle.
A twinkle, thank you. Beauty. Beauty, thank you.
Okay, let's give her a round of
Thank
applause.
you.
The idea is to take all those words and really absorb them. Not just deflect, not just say twinkle, oh, that doesn't apply, but really say, that's what people saw in me. And I didn't even have to say anything. This was just me.
Wow, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, in my opinion, then it's just like just being yourself without I think that talking almost clouds the issue. Just being yourself is all you need. So you're perfect as are. Number 2, I said, was that it's really not about you, the speaker. It's about you, the audience. And because I think there's a tendency when you come up on stage to think, this is all about me, and that's how we get into our heads, and that's how we get really nervous. Because when I think it's all about me, and I realize, wait, I just completely forgot what I was supposed to say at the end of that last note, then I'm thinking back about what I'm supposed to be saying, I'm wondering what you're thinking, and I've so lost track of what I'm here to do, which is, in my opinion, my job up here is to give a gift to you. You've all gifted me with your time this morning, and I have some knowledge that I think can help some of you, if not all of you, and that's my job. Like, what can I give to you? And I will say that it's the easiest way to go from feeling really nervous to feeling more grounded or more centered is when you can make that mental switch. And I have one example of this is I like to write, and so I'm constantly writing. And one day I was sitting there writing, and excuse me, all in my head thinking, oh, this isn't going well, like who's going to read this? This doesn't make any sense. I can't even put a sentence together, that kind of thing. And I was in the middle of this when my son, who's 18 and applying to colleges right now, said, Mom, can you help me edit this piece I'm writing? And to me, making that switch from all my stuff, like my insecurities, to helping him was night and day, because I know I might not be the best writer in the world, but I know that I can help him. I might not be the best speaker in the world, but I know I can help somebody who's never stood up on stage before. And it's really, if you can just make that one switch, like, what can I do for you? What can I do? Can I say something that'll help you, encourage you to be up here next time? It's such a great way to get out of your head and into your body and into away from nervousness and more towards being centered. Okay, and this last one for me it's almost like one of the biggest ones, because I so believe this right at my core, that your story and your experience are really all you need, and your story and your experience is really where the gold is. because it's what people relate to. And there's this, it's easy to think that we need to fit in, that there's some rules to the game, that when you're up here, that the easiest thing to do is to fit in because it feels safer. But really, what if you made the choice to stand out instead? What if you made the choice to bring your personality to the front of the room? I'm saying, like, who would you rather listen to? It's like, and it's funny because it's the thing, it brings up a lot of insecurities sometimes, is that standing out. Like, we spend so much of our lives trying to fit into places, but it's really this, it's when you make the choice to stand out that makes all the difference. And it's all that takes your story and your experience because that's what makes you interesting. And so the one thing that you absolutely have to do if you're going to be an authentic speaker is that you have to be willing to be unapologetically you. And that's easier said than done. It's what I spend a lot of time with when I do personal coaching, because a lot of sometimes that's what we kind of shun, we step aside from. We try to be anything but ourselves and all our positives and the negatives. But when you can take who you are and match it to the marketplace, I'm just telling you that is where the gold is. So here's what I know to be true. These three things. One, you're perfect exactly as you are already. It's really not about you, the speaker, at all. It's about the audience and what you can do for them. And three, your story and your experience is really all you need. And I think if you take these three principles and just practice them in your next talk, or even at the dinner table, or even in your day-to-day life, you will start to see a difference. And for those of you who want to go one step further, I have a mini workshop that I made just for this group. It's a half day on March the 10th in the morning, and it's all about that. It's like what we demonstrated earlier. It's all about these practices so that you can get comfortable showing up not as necessarily the best speaker in the world, but as yourself, get comfortable in your own skin, because when you do that, the clients will come, because you are a magnet for the people who are the right people for you. All the information is at creativelyempoweredworkshop.com, and I left these little flyers on your seat as well. But basically what I want to say, just in summary, is that this art of speaking up authentically, it's really all about being comfortable and being willing, that's a big one, to be yourself. And that's easier said than done. I know for a lot of us it seems like being yourself would be the easiest thing in the world to be, but it's really not. We've trained ourselves out of that. So I like to leave with this quote, which is by Zig Ziglar, one of my favorites. It says, "You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start in order to be great." So I would just like to encourage everybody to start speaking as you are right now, not waiting even 4 days, but just go ahead and start speaking, looking for opportunities now. Thank you.
Does anyone have a quick question or two? We have a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Fred.
If I use software here. I just do presentations, and I use software on my tablet that's kind of like a teleprompter.
Yeah.
What do you think of those software programs for newbies?
The teleprompters?
Yeah, on the tablet that kind of.
I've never used a teleprompter, so I can't really speak to it, but I can speak to having a presentation, on slides versus just going up cold. That there's a huge difference to have. It feels like a security blanket almost, having an outline. Like you were saying earlier, if you forget what you're going to say, the outline's all there for you. And the first time I ever had to, and I was really used to giving presentations with a slideshow. I bought a projector because it was like, have projector, we'll speak. But at one point I couldn't use it. Like it was, the technology didn't work like I was, and because I was so reliant on it, it was like a security blanket. That day, I'm sitting in the back crying before this presentation, just wondering if I could even pull it off. So, you know, I guess there's good news, bad news to it. For sure, it's a great place to train your mind, but you don't want to get too reliant on it, because the whole idea of authentic speaking is knowing that you can be yourself, and everybody's got things to say, right? Nobody would be in the business they're in without some emotion tied to it, right? For everybody's got something to say, to share, and to help everybody else learn from, for sure. Yeah.
Do we have another question? Carol?
Any ideas as far as introverts, you know, people who don't like the spotlight?
Yeah, now I'm going to say that I am the queen of being an introvert. Like
Okay.
I am not, I believe you, like I feel like I grew up in a family where I was usually in the background, and the motto was loud wins. And I think that is why I did what I took the path that I took initially, was because I knew I couldn't speak up. I put all my effort into being perfect. I threw so much energy into proving myself and muscling through it. It's sort of like a yoga class where you see people who are muscling through it versus somebody that's just relaxing into it. I believe introverts, this is my bias, almost have more to say than the rest of us, because they've spent so many years observing. And so I'm looking forward to hearing yours talk.
Bobby, did you have a question?
Do you help at all with content or with putting the speeches together so that we
don't in the workshop, but I definitely do in the private coaching, because it's, again, the workshop itself is a practical place so that you can stand up in front of people, because it's one thing to practice standing in front of your mirror, but as we witnessed earlier, it's another thing entirely when you've got a room full of eyeballs staring at you. So, again, yes and no to that question too.
All right, very good. Thanks again. All right, fantastic. Now, as I warned you, we're going to hear from you and how you are receiving this and what kind of action you are ready to jump into. Please do stand, state your name and your company, just for the camera. Relax, take that breath in, out, and remember you're talking is for those that are receiving. So, Peter, we're going to start with you in the back.
Excellent.
Are you ready?
Yeah, that was very nice. My takeaway today is I like the emphasis on the story, the experience. That definitely gives it a good starting point. What's my story and what's my experience and application to whatever that subject is? Appreciate it.
I'm going to echo that too. The power of the experience. I think how you framed it in that anecdote where you're up in front of the audience, and how you said how your experience mattered as compared to the people that were before you. That was very powerful. So thanks for that.
Hi, my name is Pam. My takeaway was just authentically be you. Everybody has their own story. They have their own journey. Sometimes you think people don't really care or want to listen to it, but in my experience, when I have shared my story and my path, people are quite interested. That's my takeaway.
Patrice Berry. I took away, again, the authentic aspect of it. People have told me when I speak that I am on the casual side, and I've always thought, I've got to put more, shine it up a little bit more, and, in my presentation, and I can see now after hearing your presentation that that's not necessarily the case. You can be your authentic self. And also I like the part about passion, and that we all have a passion that we can share. And you know, I know what mine is in my business, and that's why I'm in it. And I think that that's something that you lose sight of when you're trying to present, is really what your passion is. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Marie. I twinkle. Actually, I'm going to put a different spin on this one. So what I learned about this, or from you, is being authentic. So I actually have a job interview tomorrow, and I haven't interviewed. I'm not used to interviewing, and I thought, oh my gosh, and now I'm sitting here thinking, no, I'm just going to be authentic, and I'm going to come from my heart and share my experience, and if it matches and it fits, great, and if it doesn't, well then I move on. I go look for the next one. So it's my first time I put a resume in. I put it in yesterday, and now I've got this interview all of a sudden. So, I'm taking away a different aspect of this, but I thank you.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth. So my takeaway, I liked hearing the story, but I liked how you outlined your why. Do you know? Like the purpose, because I think that's a driving force to why you want to speak, and also like why you do what it is that you do. So I like that, and I liked how you said that when you're yourself, then you become a magnet, and it will, what do you call it, magnetize the people that are supposed to work with you. I think I've been running my business for 4 years, and I've really had to learn to like let go and be like, no, don't try to force it to fit, because if it's going to fit, it'll feel like natural versus feeling like you're going in an uphill battle. So I kind of like that you reinforce that message.
I thought we were going to go that way. I've been doing presentations since I was in elementary school. And sometimes when I listen to these, I go back to the first one I did was one at graduation in elementary school, and I was petrified and literally peed myself because I was like, wow. And then didn't do a presentation for another 5 years because I was so panicked. And I think people sometimes just need to do it, you know, and that's part of it. The other challenge I found is that, not against you, but having worked in 29 different countries, you do have to tweak it a little bit and do some research on what resonates with your audience and what doesn't. So there is some prep work that does need to be done, but most of the time I got to the point where once I knew certain cultural issues, you got to know your audience, you know, then it went well, and I rarely use notes. So get to know your audience, like you did before the event. Say hi to people, hello to people, etc.
Yeah, please don't walk away thinking you don't need prep.
Yes, I love it. Just do it. Absolutely. The gift of serving your audience is my takeaway. It's not about you. Yeah, it's a different mindset. And that you are an expert in something. Tell your story. Be real. People will be attracted to you if they get it. Thank you. Well done.
Robert Mitchell with Skyline Media. My takeaway from this is to start taking action, to start finding what it is that I want to speak about and things that I want to do, and start getting an action and a game plan put together, and then also get out there and just be personable and not be scared to do it.
This is just a reminder for me, because I know facts tell, stories sell. And I never have a problem doing a presentation if I have time and I can share some of my stories, because I've been a Legal Shield customer for 18 years, and you can't shut me up about how great it is. But when I do employee benefits, sometimes the boss will say, okay, you got 15 minutes. Well, then all of a sudden they'll say, oh, sorry, you only have 5. Then I quickly revert back to the facts, and it's terrible. I can't do it, and I have to remember, regardless, just tell my story, and if I have to tell it in 5 minutes, tell it in 5 minutes. It's a good reminder.
And I'm Paul Sochek. I actually present quite a bit. And one of the things I find is I don't take myself seriously, so I don't expect anyone else to. I know my stuff. They feel it from me. So just be comfortable. If you know your stuff, have fun with it. That's the biggest thing that I took away from here is I think I kind of got that part cut down.
Again, my name is Megan, and the part I took away was standing in your fear to overcome it, because I thought, that's applicable not just to public speaking, but to other areas of life.
Hi, I'm Joshua from Garden Financial. You just have to be yourself when you speak, and like I'm the expert when it comes to taxes. I know taxes. A lot of people, most people don't know them, so just you have to be yourself and tell the story the way it is, and people will trust you.
Kate Haggerty, I have 2 points. First, I've just finished crafting a new talk, so it gets me excited to get out there and practice. And second, what I found that I wanted to share with the group that was similar to what you're saying, when you get nervous, 2 things you can say to yourself: how can I help? How can I serve? You get it off you right away, onto the audience. It helps a ton if you're nervous. Thanks.
Ron Scanlon, Focal Point Coaching. What I thought was interesting about the talk was when you had our friend up there for her 45 seconds and had her being quiet, was to watch the discomfort of the audience with that quiet as well, because we didn't know our role either. So I thought that was really interesting. So that's my takeaway.
Dave Hernandez, tax accountant. My takeaway was standing in your fear. Find what you want, and that's where to stand in the fear.
Tara with Mile High. I'm going to kind of echo what Kate said in the standing in your fear, but what I'm going to try and do is pick 1 or 2 things and write it down to focus on of what I can give to the audience, because I am totally that person with the little sweat and the little frizzy and the pointing arrows and all that. That's me. But if I can just pick one of those 2 things, focus on that before I start talking, I think that will kind of make that energy, that nervous energy, kind of dispel from me and recognize that I'm helping versus just chatting.
Ani Farah, and I would say it was nice for it to be reiterated that it really is about imparting knowledge and sharing information. So it is about the speech, not the speaker, that works so much better whenever we are sharing and not pontificating. And so therefore, that's where the authenticity comes from. So thank you.
Ashley Sims with Let Me Help You. And I took away that I need to be more willing and open to sharing my story rather than just like getting right down to business, because that's like how I operate in my business. But people need to know me and trust me, and I have to be able to share my story for that to happen.
Pam Smith, Coldwell Banker, residential real estate. I feel like Ashley just read my mind and stole what I was going to say. I think the be yourself thing is important. I think as business people and salespeople, we're always so anxious to tell everybody what we do and what product we offer that sometimes we need to just be ourselves and develop that rapport and relationship, because most people want to work with you because of you, not what product you're selling. So.
Amy Barnes, yeah, kind of just like what a lot of people said, just being yourself, and I think I jump a lot to oversharing, and sometimes I think just being a better listener, and a lot of that is authenticity and understanding your audience, and especially what we do in the nonprofit realm, and why, there's always a connection for somebody, and, just listening, you can find that rather than jumping in, which sometimes I do.
Hi, my name is Cody. My takeaway from this is just looking for the true value and feeling comfortable in your skin. I want to make sure to take time to better articulate the why.
Becca Blomquist, I think my biggest takeaway was when you were talking about your story about how you were up in the room and not to be intimidated by other people and what they may be experts in, and know that what you're doing and what your job is, what you are an expert in, so not be intimidated about what kind of people are around you.
Hey everyone, Melinda Smith. My big takeaway was just being authentic with yourself. I think often when I get up in front of a large group and I'm presenting, I get nervous that people think I'm really young and maybe what does she know. So kind of just being confident in what I am presenting, and it's really more about what you're talking about with you personally.
My name is Marisa, again from MDA. I think my biggest takeaway is that when you're doing presentations, that it's really not about you, but what you're offering to the audience. I think that, something I never really realized, that the reason why I get nervous is because I'm afraid I might be judged. So I'm just kind of taking it as that you're the expert and sharing that knowledge with other people.
Hello, Denise Rendon with TrustTheCurves.com. My big takeaway today was, do you muscle through it, or do you relax in it? I love that quote, so thank you for that.
Sorry. My name is Bobby Bowman with Bowman Heating and Air, and my biggest takeaway was actually doing, saying the story and using my experience, because I have experienced a lot more than most people in my 30 years, and I feel like I can educate a lot of people on how to kind of help with a lot of things. So.
Eric with SoCap Advertising, and what I really appreciated and want to reiterate is your second point, which is it's not about you, it's about the audience. And I think it's not just in public speaking, but it's in one-on-one conversations that we need to practice that as well. And I just absolutely resonate and totally agree that is where, whether it's large or small audiences, you need to focus, because that's where your why and your passion and all that is going to follow suit. So thank you.
Hi, Alicia with SoCap Advertising. My biggest takeaway is probably different from most people's here. I feel like the presentation was almost speaking to me personally. One of the things I told myself at the beginning of the year was that I wanted to be unapologetically me. Same family structure, I was kind of an introvert, moved to be perfect and all this stuff. So I think that it was almost a reminder to me to really step into that and to not be afraid to do so. So thank you.
Hi, Doug Ellsworth with BizBud. A couple points I want to touch on. First off, one of the key takeaways was you're there for a reason. Everybody was here because they wanted to hear Debbie speak. It wasn't that we're all here to learn about astrophysics and she's like talking about what? Empowerment, wait a minute. She's here for a reason. She's been vetted. So to have a willing and able audience is the first thing. Second is she shared her story, which made her authentic. So it gave her credence to be able to talk about speaking creatively. Third is it's a learning experience as you're up speaking. So if there's people that are giving you feedback, don't take everything personally. Take it as a learning thing. We're not here to judge you. We're here to share with you. And if you can take those little nuggets from the audience and tweak it into your speech, you'll become a better speaker going forward. So thank you for everything that you had to offer.
Joanne, once again. I think my takeaway was being vulnerable and being willing to be vulnerable, and sharing that gives way to being more credible and validates your experience, because everyone has their own experience, but yet as long as you're able to resonate with one or two, then I think that the job is done.
And my name's Anthony Pritchard. And what I really liked, Debbie, was the graphic you put up on the screen with the perfect dolls and the personality dolls. People really don't want you to be perfect because it's hard to resonate with somebody who's perfect. And I know from experience that it's not really what you're saying. They don't care what you say until they know that you care.
That was perfect.
And I'm Drew Shock with the Call to Action Alliance and Boost Biz Ed, and I am so proud of each one of you. I just felt such confidence and authenticity with those little bits that you spoke. And so, Debbie, thank you for what you've given to us. And that reiterates my point and my takeaway, or my take action, or keep taking action. It's just like, it is about the audience. It's about you guys. You know, if I'm here, you're there, it's about you. And so I love that part where we go around, we get to hear a bit of how everyone takes it. So thank you for being a part of this and making this Biz Ed so great. So applause to you.